Today, I am doing a beginner guide to Shell so you can learn everything you need to know about this most important system in Etheria Restart that will take you from a noob gamer to a pro gamer. So Shell, aka the pet system in this game, is going to be very similar to the weapon system in the modern day gacha game that you play. And the best thing about this is that they will not show up in any gacha banner. So when you do your gacha, your summoning, your pull, you will not come across any weapon or shell whatsoever. We are so accustomed to having a weapon banner in modern gacha game that when there's a new character getting released, you have to pull for the fucking character and then you have to pull for the best in-slot weapon, which will cost you a whole lot of money, and that is just so depressing.
I'm gonna just do one. I'm gonna do one pull. Let's go! It's time! It's time! It's time! It's time! It's time! Bailu! Gepard! Bailu! Bailu Gepard! Bailu Gepard! Bailu Gepard!
However, in this game, you don't have to do any of that. You can farm every single shell. I repeat, you can farm every single shell in this game with your daily stamina to the highest difficulty, to the best shell that the game has to offer. So that's going to be very amazing, and it is also one of the more fun PvE mode in the game where you can build team to crush these bosses in like 50 seconds. Very fun. Every shell will come with the basic attributes, so these will be straight up added to your character. Yes, including HP, attack, defense, and speed. They will not add effect accuracy or crit rate or crit damage. That will come in the passive effect that you can actually kind of choose what you want. So this is going to be Lian with the shell on. If you take out the shell, then Lian will lose 40 speed and a lot of other basic stat. So in the end game, shell is going to be responsible for at least like 30% of your stat. Absolutely incredible bonus to your character. And also, every shell will come with different matrix or module bonuses to complete the set bonuses for your module. So right now, I'm having the Onslaught, Fury, and Fury Edge. So when you look at the shell, I only have Onslaught in the matrix bonuses, so I cannot complete so many sets in my module build. However, if I switch the shell to the right bonuses, Onslaught, Fury, and Fury Edge, I can complete all of my module bonuses to get the best stat possible. However, for an early mid-game shell, they will only have 2 or 3 different matrix bonuses. So before the end game, you will not get what you are seeing on the screen just now, but you're gonna get something similar to this, which is gonna be 2 different set bonuses, and you will not get access to things like Fury Edge or Swift Smite. So I'm gonna unload this, and this is gonna be what you will probably get in the early game. So 2 main set, one of them being 12, the other one can be 8. And every single shell will come with passive effect. The end game one will come with 3 different passive effects. The early game one will probably come with 1 or 2 passive effects. And these passive effects can be exactly what you want if you farm enough shell currency to reconfigure the passive effect. The first one is gonna increase your basic stat even further. In the early game, if you get the attack flat or the attack percentage, it's all good. However, for the end game, getting the bonus percentage stat is going to be so much better. So for Tiamat, you want HP. For defense scaling character like Rahul, you want defense. And for Lian, you want extra attack. For slot 2, it'll be more tactical. You have speed, you have crit damage, crit rate, effect accuracy, even shield provided by the character. So most of the character, okay, not all of them, but most of them will really enjoy getting extra speed from the shell passive effect. So this is where you're gonna see a huge difference by people who know about this and people who don't. The people who know will get their character to like bonus 100 to 150 speed early game very quickly. And those who don't will be stuck at like plus 60 to 80 speed, and they cannot figure out how to get stronger. So raising your shell level to get the speed in the basic stat and getting the second passive to be speed will decide your turn 1 from your booster, turn meter control character. If they're faster, they will do so much more for you. And in the slot 3, it's going to be even more strategic and tactical because you will have things like damage reduction, you have extra accuracy, you have extra bonus damage. So this will depend on what you really want for the character, but it's going to get a while to get here, so you don't have to worry too much about it at the start. And you can watch the dedicated guide to a certain character to see what is the best in-slot passive for that certain character. But for the early and mid game, just getting the basic stat bonus and the speed bonus is gonna be incredible. But let's say for Lian, you want to get extra crit damage, for example, because you don't need that much speed on a damage dealer. But if you do, you have the option to personalize your damage dealer to be a bit faster. And that's not all. Every single shell, every one of them will come with an active skill. It might be activated immediately right at the start if you see this at 0, and there's also a cooldown to all these shell. However, you will come across shell that have number 1 in their triangle icon, which means you have to take one turn and then the next turn the shell will get activated. For example, Twilight Knight is going to be one of the most popular DPS shell for most of you guys out there, and Twilight Knight is going to be amazing for a character like Gray, which everyone will have in the early game as well. Why so? Because Gray AI will always allow him to buff crit rate for the entire team before he deal damage. And after he buff crit rate, the shell will get activated to prepare the enemy with a defense down debuff so that he can deal good damage to the enemy and then apply defense down. So allow me to demonstrate. So as you can see, next to Gray icon is the shell icon, and it is on cooldown. So if you think that you can use this Twilight Knight on a support character like Chiaki or number 41 of Freya, think again, because it will not happen turn 1. But Gray always need to buff, and then the shell will activate to put defense down on one of the enemy target, and now you can do damage to the enemy with skill 3 to defense down them. However, I'm going to go for skill 1 here, just because I want to show you guys that the defense down will go away. So don't put this on a support character thinking that it's gonna be a free defense down for your team. No, it doesn't work like that. But it works really well on Gray because Gray will be able to do damage to a defense down character. So every single shell will come with a passive skill, and to talk about which skill is best for which character, it would take like an hour just to explain every single character. So that's gonna be put into the dedicated guide for every single character. But just know that Shell is very, very powerful, and the endgame Shell is ridiculously good. And they are so specific for so many different characters that you need to farm kind of all of them a little bit here and there. Starting from Nico Nana is going to be where you will see Mythic Shell. So for a lot of people, the journey for shell farming is going to start in Nico Nana. Of course, you will have to do it here and there before Nico Nana to fulfill the early game mission, because the game will make you farm a little bit here and there in the earlier bosses, which is totally fine. You can grab some of the early game shell like Black Flag, the Shark Shell, or the Bee Shell, and they're really amazing for your character. But the real farming will probably gonna start around here, and each Mythic Shell is gonna be really amazing. However, you also have to pay attention to the matrix available in the shell. For example, you really like Artisan, but then your character is currently built on Swift Rush and Wellspring for HP boost. This guy doesn't work with Wellspring, so no matter how many Artisan that you're gonna farm, you will not be able to use it on a character with Swift Rush and Wellspring. So change it to Swift Stripe or Swift Bramble so that you can use the shell properly. And one of the most popular shell for like cooldown reduction is gonna be Codex of Magic. And if you look at the matrix available, there are only 2 red set, which is the damage dealing set, Momentum and Fury. And you don't get Momentum and Fury if you only farm Termaton. You can get your hands on Kenai and Onslaught. However, the only place to get Momentum and Fury is going to be the Aurora boss. So if you farm Codex of Magic thinking that you're gonna get your hands on the best shell for your Kenai and Onslaught build character, let's say you put that on Messiah to use Codex of Magic, you cannot use that on Messiah to fulfill the module set bonuses. You can still activate the shell skill. However, it is going to be great if you can match the shell matrix bonuses to the module that you are building. And that was the shell basic. Now, you're watching this video because you just started Etheria Restart and you want to know which one you need to use and which one you can skip. In the early game, you'll have to do the first 3 bosses, for example, and you will come across some pretty decent shell that you can raise, but you don't have to fully invest into them because you're gonna ditch them by day 7. But there are some pretty good ones. For example, Unbridled Science is gonna be very good for your support character, even though they don't have the Wellspring on the Matrix available. But just having the Swift module in there is gonna be amazing because this shell is gonna increase the turn meter for the character after they take the action. So after every time you take an action, your support character turn meter will be down to 0%. However, this shell is gonna boost their turn meter to 30%, allowing them to move again more frequently, which means lower cooldown, more turn to protect your team with their buff and debuff. And your healer character, Sania, Dorothy, or Linglo, or whatever healer you're using, if you get that one character that can heal your team in the early game, you can use the owl as well. However, you will ditch them very quickly, so don't get too attached to the early game shell. You can raise them to level 10 or 20, that is totally fine, but you will ditch them very soon, so don't max them out to waste your resources. The moment you can start getting your hands on the yellow shell, these are the ones you can potentially max out 1 or 2 in the early game. So because everyone will be building gray, which is a very correct thing to do, you can put Twilight Knight on gray and max out one of your Twilight Knight. Remember, if you're building gray on Swift and Onslaught, use the one with Swift and Onslaught, okay? Don't use the one with Battle Whale or Kenai if you're not having that module on the character. And for the same concept, Black Flag, the Shark, is going to be incredible for all of your support character, including your healer or buffer. So Freya and Linglo and Sania, they can all use the Shark shell because it has the Swift and the Wellspring and the Bramble and the... What is that? Unbreakable. If you're one of the Tiamat enjoyer and you can build your Tiamat on Swift Rush and Bramble, it's going to be so much fun with this shell on, because Tiamat revenging is one of the best feeling in the world. But once again, don't get too attached to your shell, okay? You might farm a bit of Whitney here and there. You might be using one of these, which are very good as well. They are literally just like the weaker version of the red shell. So if you want to raise 1 or 2 of this, it is not a big problem, because these are not too bad on your damage dealer, giving them attack buff, giving them extra healing over time, giving them turn meter as well. This one has no cooldown, by the way. So if you don't get access to the Mythic Shell Gigabyte, which is really good, this one is not too bad. But once again, by day 10, I would assume that everybody will be farming from this point onward. So you don't have to raise more than 5 yellow shell, to be honest, because you're going to be using the red one very soon. So just have enough so that your farming team are all equipped with a decent shell so you can start working on the Mythic Shell, because this is where you're gonna get the real shell. And for the yellow shell, I think it is entirely fine if you maxed out the level. It is okay. Getting the basic attribute bonuses, especially the 27 speed right there, incredible bonus to your character. But I highly suggest not doing this step, which is the reconfiguration of the passive effect. Unless you are like a Giga Whale, you don't care, you buy the resources so easily anyway, you just do this to dominate early game PvP, but don't have to. If you happen to roll the right stat because you upgrade the shell, congratulations. But if you don't, it is totally fine. You don't need to go min-maxing a stepping stone to the Mythic Shell. So don't do this. Very wasteful. But you can definitely max them out to get the best basic attribute. And when you awaken them, which is to max level them, you also get a slightly better version of the active skill as well. And the moment you get your hands on the Mythic Shell, this is where the min-maxing will start to begin. And you can do it to your heart's content. Do it until you run out of shit and do it again tomorrow. However, if you happen to want to switch different matrix bonuses because you farm a new shell that is a better suit for your character, oh boy, this game is amazing. So right now, my Twilight Knight is on Swift and Harvest. But what if I want to use this Twilight Knight who's on Swift and Battle Wheel? I already put all my resources in the other Twilight Knight. Don't worry about it. In this game, there's an imprint system to allow you to take all the investment you put in the other Twilight Knight and put into this one. And now you can say goodbye to the other one that you don't need anymore. You only do this to the one that you don't need anymore, okay? And you move on to the next and better one. Now your new Twilight Knight with the right matrix bonuses that you really want is maxed out. Because when you farm a new Mythic Shell, it will not be guaranteed that's gonna be like the best triple Mythic bonus in 3 different slots. There's no guaranteed. So that's the way for the game to force you to keep farming for longer. And you want to use the shell right now. You want to invest your resources in the shell immediately. And you can do that. And always just imprint the one that you invested in into the new one that you think is going to be more suitable for your character build. I've been doing some random run here and there so we get some level 1 Mythic Shell, and as you can see, they don't have the best matrix bonuses. The moment you get your hands on the best one, then the imprint system is going to save your life. Change everything. Incredible. And I think that's all I have for you guys today for Shell. If you have any other question, let me know in the comment section down below. I would love to make more in-depth guide for Shell in the future. For each different character, there's gonna be like a Shell tier list for them as well. Like they can be using this or that depending on the situation you want to use them in. Because for a healer in arena defense, it might be using a different shell. For PvE, an entirely different shell as well. So let me know in the comments what you need to know, and I will explain that in future video. For now, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.